53 Welsh Italians died aboard the Arandora Star 70 years ago. Paulette Pelosi's grandfather ran a cafe in Swansea when he was arrested by British police. He survived the shipwreck.
The Welsh were the Italians in the rain, and I think there are a lot of similarities. There's that Roman centurion stature, dare I say, about the height, and in many ways some of them are physically similar, so that you did in fact have some Italians who married Welsh women, and the product of that, the children, the offspring, you can't tell where the Welsh and the Italian join. But like my grandfather, who'd been here since the 1900s, by World War II, they had sons in the British Army. And then in June 1940, Mussolini took Italy, or brought Italy into the war. And within a very short time, of course, the Italians here became recognised as enemy aliens. And that's when Winston Churchill said, "Collar the lot." The men were suddenly literally torn away, taken from their homes in the early hours of the morning. As with my grandfather, they had the shop in Southend in Mumbles in Swansea. When the men were taken away, the women obviously were distraught. They didn't know what was happening. And in many cases, they would be rounded up by local policemen who one minute would have been having a cup of tea in one of their cafes. The next minute they were responsible, they had their orders to round up these men. Some were taken to Maindy Barracks near Cardiff. My grandfather was taken to a disused cotton mill with terrible conditions in Worth Mills in Bury in Lancashire, till they were then taken to Liverpool to be put on the SS Arandora Star for them to sail, to be taken to Canada for their internment. They set off on the journey to Canada on the Arandora Star, but in the early hours, less than 24 hours into the journey, the early hours of July the 2nd, 1940, the Arandora Star was torpedoed. To all intents and purposes, to the German submarine that sank it was a warship. It was painted military grey. It didn't display a red cross denoting that there were civilians on board. The decks were covered in barbed wire, and there were guns, military guns on board. So on seeing that, you would think that this was a warship.
George Hill and Paulette are cousins. They met for the first time at a memorial event in Liverpool 2 years ago. George's grandfather drowned on the liner. His grandmother then moved to Birmingham to be with her daughter.
My father was actually born in Swansea, just down the road from here. My grandfather and grandmother's shop was opposite his house, and that's how my mother and my father got together. The house I actually live in now was the old ice cream parlour belonging to my grandfather. The knock at the door at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can imagine the children, herself, him not knowing what it was all about, and then finding out what it was about, the chaos, and then people outside congregating even at that time in the morning, seeing what's going on, finding out that then he was an alien, or so they thought. He's got 2 sons in the British Army, windows being smashed, looting carrying on, him being dragged out, the children crying, Nanny crying, and not knowing where he was being taken, and nobody coming forward with any explanation. Friends that were in the shop the day before, probably having coffee or getting a loaf of bread or cigarettes or whatever, and they just changed because they thought that then he was a black shirt, which he wasn't. My grandmother, because of the heightened tension that was in Swansea, the family decided, because she had a daughter in Birmingham, that they would get her up to Birmingham with a daughter for her own safety, and that's what happened. Whether she liked it or not, or whatever, she had to do it because of the way the people were reacting. I didn't find out about the Arandora Star until the day of a funeral, which I was 8 years of age, when these people came from Italy, from Swansea, from all over, and then they were talking about this ship, And then from then, obviously, I asked questions. The story that I don't tell a lot of people, and I told Paulette really, that this was the second marriage of my grandmother. She actually got married in 1915. Her husband went to the war, in the First World War, and he got killed in 1917. So, before this tragedy, she had to cope with that one as well.
Bruna Ketzi is writing a PhD on the Italian community in South Wales. She believes it's important to raise awareness of an event that many find too painful to talk about.
We are a group of volunteers, mainly Welsh Italians. Some of us went to Liverpool for the 68th anniversary of the tragedy of the Arandora Star. And in Liverpool, in 2008, there was a big commemorative event. So we met there, and then we realized that in Wales there were lots of people from the Welsh Italian community who were affected by this tragedy, and at the moment there isn't a memorial of the Arandora Star in Wales. So when we came back basically in September, we formed this committee, and basically we've been working since then to raise awareness of this tragedy. It's called the silent tragedy, because although it had tremendous a terrible impact on the not just the Italian community in South Wales, but let's say the Welsh community, it's been kind of kept secret, and it was a very tragic and painful thing to remember. We felt that when you look around, you find so many war memorials commemorating the tragic loss of soldiers. And very rarely, when you talk about the war, any war, you hear about the tragic loss of civilians. So we felt that although, say, of course, there were British soldiers who died in this tragedy, we felt that our main concern was about the civilians who were affected. We wanted a central location, basically, where everybody could have access to this memorial and learn about the tragedy. And so in the end we found the St. David's Cathedral, which is very, very central in the capital of Wales as well. And we felt, this is a suitable place. This is a Catholic place of worship, and the fact that it's Catholic wasn't chosen because of the Italians being Catholic specifically. Because the majority, in fact, of the people who died in this tragedy were not Catholic. If you think that there were Germans and Austrians and British people on board. In particular, we want to remember the 54 Italians who died and who were residing here in Wales. The majority of these people, of these 54 Italians, were Catholic, but not all of them. This is going to be quite a big memorial, and I think it's going to have a tremendous impact, visual impact, and also you're gonna feel really about this tragedy. So mainly it's a combination of slate, Welsh slate, and Italian terracotta.
The memorial will be unveiled in St. David's Cathedral in Cardiff on the 2nd of July, the day that the Arandora Star sank 70 years ago.